So people start looking at it more. So there's 3 models of thought. They each have their own little twist on the definition of emotional intelligence. And more importantly, how are we going to measure it? So we can measure someone's emotional intelligence. The theory now is it's more valuable than measuring someone's IQ. So obviously how they interact with people is more important than just their straight intelligence. So the first one is called the trait model. Now the trait model is interesting because for most people, emotional intelligence is controlling other people. You know, I can tell when you're mad, and I can tell how to get you either in that zone or away from that zone. The trait model says it's someone's ability to self-assess their own emotions and how they react to their own emotions. So this is, out of the 3 models, this is the one that differs. The other 2 talk about your cognitive thinking and your ability to gauge things. This one relies more on self-process, like your self-assessment, which, as you can tell, it's the least followed of the 3 because it's very difficult to understand. I mean, how is someone else going to gauge how you gauge yourself? I mean, then by nature, that person would have to know you better than you know you. Like you say, oh, I'm sad right now, and you're like, you're not sad. like you've been sadder. But it makes sense. I mean, a good example is how we work out an empire. I wouldn't consider Frank my friend. I don't text him on the weekends. I don't go to his house for dinner. But I have a different relationship with Frank than a normal person. Because Frank has been able to push us outside our comfort zone. And Frank knows when we can go further than when we can't. So when he's coaching kids or when Frank trains us, the trait model makes somewhat sense. Because I'll say, I can't do anymore. And Frank will say, yes, you can. And he's right. He's seen us outside the comfort zone. And just because we have a mental block and our self-process, our self-assessment can't get us there, someone else who knows us can. So that's a trait model. Of the 3, it's the least kind of accepted and followed. Next one is the ability model. So the ability model is the ability to perceive emotion, integrate emotion to facilitate thought, and understand emotions and to regulate emotions to promote personal growth. So with this model, there's 4 kind of aspects of it. Perceiving emotions, using emotions, understanding emotions, and managing emotions. Now, this is important because those 4 ideas are things that can be learned. You can hone in on understanding emotions, identifying emotions, perceiving emotions. That's something you can positively work on, become a better person. So this is kind of the next step up. Trait model will be the bottom. The ability model is the next level up. And the top level, the most accepted one, has been developed by a guy named Daniel Goleman. And the reason to this point I'm giving you a lot of information is because I understand it's getting to be a lot. But if you left here and Googled Daniel Goleman, it's a great place to start for emotional intelligence. And what he says is emotional intelligence in a mixed model is a collection of skills that drive leadership performance. And some of those skills are self-awareness, self-regulation, social skill, empathy, and motivation. So very similar to the ability model, all these things are something that Daniel Goleman says you can work on day in and day out to become more emotionally intelligent and therefore be a better leader. So things I wanted to achieve in this presentation. One is to give you a general idea of emotional intelligence. Ability to identify, assess, and control your own emotions and other emotions as well. It's the first half of the presentation. From there, if you want to take a step further, there's 3 models. The trait, the ability, and the mixed model. For those of you more interested in going into emotional intelligence and looking into it, those are the next 3 steps for you. If you left here knowing, hey, identify, assess, and control, all right, I'm going to go in and start looking at people and identifying the emotions that people in my account have and the emotions they show to me when I'm talking to them and how open they are, I think that's a big step. I think it's something that you would see immediate improvement from in your performance by identifying people's emotions in your account. If you want to go one step further, Google Daniel Goleman. That's a great place to start as far as a mainstream guy who's written a book called Emotional Intelligence and has done many papers. I'm going to leave you with one quote, which brings us back to Rich. Daniel Goleman did a TED Talk, which I think we're all pretty familiar with, back in 2007. And around that time, the Harvard Business Review did an article regarding his TED Talk. And in the TED Talk, he says, Harvard Business Review recently had an article called The Human Movement about how to make real contact with a person at work. The fundamental thing you have to do is turn off your BlackBerry, close your laptop, end your daydream, and pay full attention to the person you're talking to. So the Daniel Goleman, kind of the leader in this industry as far as emotional intelligence, says the most important thing is to be in the moment. When you think about Rich, the reason why people trust him is because he gives you that 15 seconds. He are in the moment. He cares about what you're saying. So I look forward to the Q&A later, and I'll hand it back over to Eric.